Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is the latest edition of the NEWSWRAP. I haven't done one for a couple of days. Workload's been a bit much. So this, if you haven't watched these before, this is basically a roundup of some of the new rugby news of the week across the world. Some of them stories that you might have seen. Some of them stories that have slipped under the radar, but they all deserve some sort of recognition. And it's a good place to keep yourself up to date with what's going on in the rugby world. There's a lot of stuff happening. Of course, we don't cover everything. We try and get to as much as we can. But and I do these every couple of days wherever I get a chance to do them, obviously workload permitting. So here we go. I think we'll start off with the first story, which this week came along, which was quite interesting. That came from Rugby Pass, and that was Jake White was shortlisted for a new job. So it started off the week with a story on Rugby Pass there by Neil Fissler that Benetton had shortlisted 3 coaches for the coaching job there to take over from next season, and that Jake White was one of them. Of course, Jake being out of a job after he left the Bulls earlier this season, and after taking them to so at the end of last season, after taking them to the final against Leinster. Anybody knows Jake knows he's quite friendly with the Benetton guys. Whenever Benetton toured the Pretoria or vice versa, the Bulls toured Treviso, they would go out for dinner. So that's quite a long-standing relationship. So that wouldn't surprise me. One of the other coaches who was mentioned in the interviews who's also shortlisted was Cornel van Zyl, who's now coaching Cardiff as interim coach there. So very interesting. And then we suddenly got an update through the Afrikaans papers a day later. We always used to joke in the newspaper business that you'd break a story and the next day somebody would go out of their way to deny it. And this seems to have happened. Stephen L did a story on Netwerk 24 saying that spoke to the Italian club Benetton, and they denied that White was ever contacted, shortlisted or interviewed for the job. So that's one we're going to have to wait and see, but certainly you could see it being a fit. Jake has coached all over the world, so it wouldn't be surprising if that happens, but I suppose we'll have to wait and see. Then turning to quite a feel-good story. Of course, last week was the URC debut for Siba Mahashe, one of the rising stars of the Lions as well. And we often hear about players making their debuts, but we don't always see what happens behind the scenes. And the Lions social media team released this. This was Siba's family, obviously cheering him on his debut. Of course, the horsepower there, because Siva's name translates to doing something to do with horses. I'm not quite sure, but that's what I've heard anyway. But we also got news this week that the Barbarians are coming to South Africa. They're going to play Wales the week afterwards. So 4 high-profile coaches named for the Barbarians, but the biggest one of them all is Scott Robertson, his first coaching job post the All Blacks. The All Blacks haven't got a coach yet, but we now know that Gqeberha will be hosting the game on the 20th of June. So get your tickets for that. The Barbarians making the announcement there for their game against the Springboks. It will be a warm-up game. These games are primarily to give some of the Japanese-based players a chance to get some game time, because they'll be off for quite a few weeks by the time this game rolls around. Also making news that Wales have finally got themselves a full-time defence coach for the Nations Championship. Peter Murchie is the guy who's been appointed. He's bulk of his experience there with Glasgow and within the Scottish Pathway system, and he's been part of Dave Rennie's coaching team at the Kobe Steelers. This week we also saw the Varsity Cup, some great action there as well. One interesting one that came out there as well, quite a prominent surname scored one of the tries. So you might notice that the nephew of a very, very well-known Springbok scoring a try there, but have a look.
Christoph Etzebeth darts! He's got it! His uncle Eben Etzebeth will be so proud of that, showing true character here, this FNB Emirates side, from getting that penalty from the scrum, then getting the try in the corner, Sigauke, and now the tapo kick to put a cherry on top of it. They're up to 15 points.
Excellent work from the FNB Emirates.
Yeah,
that is the lad that we've been looking for. Christoph Etzebeth, big physical ball carrier. And that's exactly what we saw there. See how get. There's the initial try. Good work from the youngster. Fighting well through the contact and placing the ball. Look at how many numbers there were from the Eagles side. And the tackle kick, Christopher Elizabeth concluded that.
We had Eddie Jones talking about how Steve Waterwick's Six Nations campaign was derailed by his own comments, according to Eddie. Eddie never was short of an opinion, as we all know. But saying that when he pronounced that they're going to Paris to fight for the Grand Slam title, something that seems like in the distant past now, that's when it ruined it. So Eddie, not shy of sharing his opinion. The Cheetahs also announcing this week that they've got a Bok lifeline, as that says. They've been upgraded to Tier 2 test status, means they can host test matches again. They lost that last year after Saru does obviously stadium inspection, and it's got to do with more than just stadiums. It's got to do with the hotels and everything around the game. Are they capable of handling an international team? And for a while they lost that, but there's been some hard work behind the scenes, and they certainly got it back again. So we might be going to Bloemfontein again for a game in the future. Now, whenever Rassie Erasmus posts something on social media, it gets quite a bit of attention, and so the same this week. It was a very, very short video that he put up. And a very interesting one as well, saying that I get to see the boys again. Although I somehow don't think this is a very new thing, because Jacques Nina was in the video, and as far as I know, he's in Dublin. But this must be quite an old video. But still, I'm going to play it a couple of times so that you can see it. But I'm not sure what to say about it. It just looks like a good, fun video. So have a watch.
One action. One action. One action.
3 seconds long and enough to make us sit up and take notice. There's of course former Springbok team manager Ian Schwartz is there as well. He now runs Saru's transformation programs for them as well. So he's also there. That's why I say I'm not quite sure this is a new video, but 3 second video, certainly capturing a lot of attention. Now on to some club news, some interesting ones around the various franchises. The Lions have announced that they have loaned Corné Weibach, who's the former SA under-20 prop who had a heart attack last year, had it on the bus back from training from while playing for Griquas. Obviously, hopefully he's over all those symptoms, but great to see him back in action. And certainly somebody who was highly rated when he was playing, so hopefully see him back on the field pretty soon. Some talk around the clubs in the UK. Will Stewart, the English and British Irish Lion, has now signed again for Bath. He's played 105 times for them. He's re-signed for them, so good to see that. Some interesting rumours coming out of the UK. Mike Prendergast is going to leave Munster. He's one of the assistant coaches. He came in, of course, at the end of Johan van Graan's tenure there. And now the rumour is that he might join Johan van Graan at Bath. That would be quite interesting as well. Leinster's backup scrum half to Jameson Gibson Park, Luke McGrath, who plays quite a lot for them in the URC, and you will have seen him. It looks like he signed a contract with Papillon, so that Midi Olympique reporting that one. Ben Healy, of course, the Edinburgh utility back. He was from Munster. He went off to Edinburgh, plays for Scotland. Looks like he's going to go join La Rochelle for the next season. Interesting signing also announced now from the Bulls. Apiwe Dianti, who haven't seen play for quite a while. He never really got into his stride there by the Bulls. Has now signed for Narbonne. So good to see him moving on. Hopefully it'll be a good revival for his career, and he can get some game time again. So that's him in a Narbonne jersey was announced as well. Some interesting comments there in Rugby World magazine by John Inverdale, the veteran sports broadcaster. You'll know his voice clearly when you see it. And he's basically just laid into World Rugby, saying they've gone crazy with this obsession with the USA and they haven't really developed the game anywhere else. Some very hard words by him. Basically, he says, in a recent interview with Rugby World, he says that their laser focus on taking rugby to the States has seen it neglect other opportunities. And he puts here, he says in 1991 I wrote a piece in the Telegraph saying, wouldn't it be great if the last four in the Rugby World Cup featured two nations you don't think of as rugby powerhouses. Today nothing has changed. We pretty much know who will be the 2027 semi-finalists. The sport has been betrayed by World Rugby. The way football has expanded globally puts rugby to shame. African football is now a bedrock of the sport. Rugby, with its crazy obsession of developing the USA down the years, has neglected a lot of other areas, South America being one. You can't argue with that. There's some real truth in that one as well. Let me know what you think in the comments. Anyone who watched Boland play the Bulls last week on YouTube when it was streamed there would know that the Boland have really done pretty well for themselves, and they're really building as a union. And now there was a lot of talk a couple of weeks back about Springbok coaches going to help the Bulls in their time of need, and people thought it was favouritism for the Bulls. And anybody close to the game knows that the Springbok coaches offer this for all the unions that need it. So it was great to see this week that Dwayne Vermeulen went to help out Boland and help them a bit with their coaching as well. You're going to see this a lot more, that the Springbok management team members are at other unions. Some of them just don't publicise it, and I think it's great to see. If you're wondering what our Springbok captain was doing with his time off over the last couple of weeks, he's not playing at Loftus this weekend. He was off in the States. He was watching basketball games and popped up at Alicia Keys, the singer's new her new show. I think it's in Broadway, and he was really enjoying his time there. So good to see Sia getting out. Hopefully, he said he asked Alicia Keys to come to South Africa. Hopefully he convinced her for all her fans, and great to see Sia enjoying himself.
What a beautiful day. I got to watch Hell's Kitchen, Miss Alicia Keys' show. Hell's Kitchen is where she's from, where she grew up. So this was the story about her life, how she made it. It was pretty amazing. What a great experience. I'm so grateful I got to experience this. And thank you, Miss Alicia Keys, for giving me the moment to meet you and say hello. I really appreciate it. And guys, I did invite her to South Africa until my cousin was born in South Africa. So hopefully she'll come perform in South Africa. Yeah, let's see what happens. But this was an amazing experience, and hopefully this show can come to South Africa. New York!
Great milestone coming up on Friday night for Bowen Fenter. For Edinburgh, plays his 100th game for them. So great to see a great servant there for Edinburgh. He's obviously leaving them at the end of the season, going to the Lions, and is now a Springbok as well. So great little milestone for Bowen, and we wish him well. Got sent this. The large school WA Uber is having a mana on to Stephen Kitsoff. Not sure exactly where WA Uber is. If you live close to it and you know about it, go and join them, support them as well. It's always great to support those, and Kitsy's got a great few stories to tell everybody. Loads of moves being made in the Premiership. They're going to a 12-team game when you'd have to apply and buy into the league. That's sort of been accepted there. And now there's some talk about Tom Brady, the firm that he sort of owns Birmingham City, the football team with, wants to start a franchise in Birmingham. So that's going to be quite interesting, something to watch for the future. Something that always makes us chuckle as journalists. The Birmingham story in the Times in London was claimed as an exclusive. And then Robert Kitson, who writes for The Guardian, fired back and said, well, interesting idea that was first reported in The Guardian early back in December. Well, there's a little bit of bragging rights going on there. Robert Kitson's a great writer, so is Charlie Felix. Great both of them, and just a little bit of fun. Another big story in the news this week. Came out that, there was a claim made that Saracens were busy talking to Andy Farrell and had put a huge sum of money in front of him. Something like £1 million, I think, was mentioned to go join Saracens and leave Ireland. Yeah, quite interesting, because I think it made a lot of Irish hearts sort of run a bit faster there, especially after they win against England. Andy Farrell's very much back in the vogue. So lots of talk there about what happened. Saracens then had to release a statement saying that Andy Farrell hadn't been spoken to, no offer had been made, he's not coming, we didn't talk to him, nobody talked to him, we didn't talk to anybody, nobody talked to anybody, and it's all a bunch of lies. So I suppose we'll have to just wait and see. Does he end up there? Or is this just a bit of a red herring? Well, we'll wait and see. There's usually a bit more truth to these stories than the club's always let on, so we're really watching the space on that one. And then there was an interesting story in one of the podcasts. I know these podcasts often do this for sort of clicks and clickbait and that. But Joe Marler, the self-styled hard man of English rugby, had this podcast with Danny Kerr where he went on and he said who was a great rugby player, who was a thug, and who was a pretender to be a thug. And made some rather disparaging comments about Eben. So, yeah, I'm going to show you the clip now. You can tell me in the comments what you think. Do you think Joe Marler, the same guy who sort of tickled the ivories of Alan Wynne-Jones once and got banned for that? I'm not sure why you would do that either. But strange character, but certainly a character in the game. But you can tell us what you think of that in the comments. Do you think you agree with him or not? So here's the clip.
Okay, these two. This is a tough
and
first round.
Bakky's both oh, mate. He's got to be up there with one of the dirtiest players going. Massive unit, filthy, punching, headbutts, elbows. Did he ever get done for gouging? Probably never got caught, but probably did it.
No, he'd have done it, but not got caught.
Shabal wasn't ever dirty, was he?
He just look at this. He looks glorious.
He would melt people. He was horrible. Who do I put through here? That's tough, mate.
It's a really tough. It's a tough draw.
Can't I bail out of that one and put them two there, and then just realise that I would have to do the same argument at that round?
You will have to enter.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's unfortunate. One of them is going to have to go early. It's just the luck of the draw.
Go on.
You've never played it. Courtney Laws versus Danny Green.
Oh, we haven't done this one.
No, who are you doing?
Yeah, it was all. He does quite a lot of what I used to do. All fart and no poo.
Right, okay.
All fart, no poo. Fake tough guy for me.
Lovely. Brad Thorne comes in.
It's exactly what I used to do.
Yeah.
Fake tough guy. Oh, you. Not as fake tough guy as Paul Doran Jones, though. Christ. I remember he was playing for Gloucester, got into a bit of a scrap, and he's on top of me, and instead of punching me, he punched the floor behind my head and got yellow carded for it. Like, as if he was like, I'm hard to punch you.
This is what I could do.
And I went,
this is what you could have won.
Cool.
Okay, Brad Thorne comes in. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, if you want to see who he thinks is the toughest man out there, go watch their podcast. It's on YouTube. You'll find it there as well, but it's an interesting one. Seeing as it's Origins round, we're going to leave you just with a piece that the Sharks did on the different schools of their players playing this weekend at Loftus Versfeld, and just where they're from and wishing them luck. So this is from the Sharks. I'm going to leave you with that, but if you haven't already, please subscribe, punch that subscribe button, and put the thumbs up. Click those thumbs up. It helps us with the algorithms. We're trying to build a channel here. And let us know in the comments what you think and what stories you enjoy, and if there's anything you want us to cover. So, want me to cover. So, talking about the real us here now for some reason. But anyway, it's a great Friday afternoon. Go and enjoy it. There's loads of good rugby this weekend. But here's the Sharks players, Origin, their schools, wishing them luck.
Ek sien jy is hom bote.
Everyone swap, the school this month.
Vincent Koch, Huguenot High School. Jason Jenkins, St. Albans College.
Emil van Heerden, Paul Boys High.
Vincent Tashuka, Northcliffe High School.
FC Buthelezi, Durban High School.
Jaden Hendrickson, Taylor High School.
Jordan Hendrickson, Cleveland High School.
Matazo Vivantiri, Jim Pavada, Senior Secondary School.
Andre Estersen, Blacksburg Hoërskool, kaptein.
Lorenzo Boogeyman Julius, Porus. Edward van der Merwe, Porus.
Jaco Williams, Glenwood High School.
Pez Mbata, Maritzburg College.
Patsu Kanyane, Glenwood High School.
Andrew Jacobs, Paulrus.
Ronald Hall, aka Portland, Oakville Agricultural High School.
Thomas Dyer, Hilton College.
Ross Browdy, Grey College.
Sia Masubu, Hoërskool Putratief.
Yao Pen, Queen's College.